families, US families back then, and they would tell you, oh, we would like to buy a Japanese car. We would like to have a Japanese car. Now, what was at the core of the system of values and actually official philosophy of the company? Long-term vision and great amount of time dedicated to teamwork. People were ready to work in their relationship. Basically, if we think about type of Japanese culture and we think about what kind of culture is it? It's a culture where people think about maintaining harmonious relationship with one another. And this is very important for them, for the society and for the labor environment, for the working environment as well. Striving for innovation, yes, of course, and the ability to quickly and effectively eliminate problems. And we would also, in the video, we have this example how people are ready to apologize if they made a mistake, and how children are being praised for apologizing, for saying that, oh, I was wrong. Oh, it was my mistake, or it was my fault, I'm so sorry. And they are encouraged to say that they are sorry if they made a mistake, that they did something wrong. Now, we have a similar case in a way that back when we were talking about during our previous class, we were talking about this combination of different styles and behavioral patterns. In Chinese culture, in the Western culture, here we have this combination of Western vision and Japanese vision. And in the East and in the West, what we have, cultural things. Attention is more focused on the environment. Attention is focused on the objects. So we do take care of the environment, but not to such degree. In the East, less inclination towards possibilities of managing the environment. We have to accept the environment. According to the Japanese culture, we have to cope with what we are offered. Versus, I can manage everything. Think about the role of management and the concept of management. I can manage time, I can manage my behavior, I can manage the environment. Manage. Constant desire to manage whatever and to control whatever you want to control. This is at the core of the Western vision and the Western culture. Less trust towards formal logic, more trust towards formal logic, which means absolutely different approaches. And interesting, this you think about it, guys, how people are hired. How first, normally when you have an invitation for an interview, what does it mean? Well, it doesn't mean that you're going to be hired, but it means that you have some chances, right? Here, it's we're talking about the recruitment model. It's interesting because there are lots of candidates and only a few of them will get accepted. So they would have to go through a number of interviews, through a number of questionnaires, and afterwards, maybe 10 out of 1,000 will get a job. And what are the main qualities that are being valued? Ability to identify problems, adaptability to various conditions, initiative, and also ability to say that, to apologize if a mistake is made. Anyone learning Japanese? Girls? Yes? Probably Diana? No, someone? Because probably the person, well, we could ask an expert who is learning Japanese how to identify and translate exactly this principle, the meaning of the word hansei, because actually what it means and what it refers to is contemplation over your behavior. Or parents can have this conversation with the child and they can tell him or her, now you have to go to your room and do hansei, which would mean you have to go to your room and think about your behavior and try to identify your problem at a level available, right? Of course, you cannot tell this to a 3-year-old child, but to a teenager, you can say something like, you have to think about what you've done, and you have to take some time, reflect upon, and then come back and tell us. Okay? So, understanding the gap between what is expected and what is achieved. Voluntary acceptance of responsibility in case of error. Right? In case a mistake is made, you have to say that, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. And the ability to choose a clear course of improvement, the ability to think what would be the best decision in this particular situation. Now, it's also interesting the concept of leadership as we're referring to Japanese culture. The leaders here are very humble. They are not likely to talk about the advantages that they have, their positions, but they want to share their experience and they want to teach their team what they're capable of. They have natural abilities, they can offer a particular behavioral model, and so that their subordinates would follow it. And yes, they have to show how they can do their job better than the others. Okay. Actually, yes, if we think about this behavior and communication style, we would see that the people with power, they are not on the top, but they are in the bottom. Which for us is something, for Western culture, for Russian corporate culture, it would be something very strange, something a bit strange, right? But here, when we talk about Japanese business culture, corporate culture, this is done such a way, this is organized such a way that the others, all the workers, would understand the importance of every single person who is hired by the company. So the president, yes, he's here, or the head of the department, he's here, and he has his power, but every single member is also important, right? And also, when we talk about Toyota in particular, we have to take into account that what made attractive this job and this position. Those people who were just hired and they had some problems with housing, they were provided with particular assistance in finding housing. They were also provided with interest-free loans in case something happened, in case they had some health issues. They would be taken good care of. They would have some. You guys okay? Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, I thought we could have done this during the break. Sorry. No, we missed better. So they would be thinking about social benefits of their workers to show that they really care about them. In case there is a problem, a family issue, also there would be a particular head of the department who would be in charge of this situation, who would be sharing his vision and taking care of the family member. But of course, we have to mind the difference and different approaches to work and labor environment in particular between Americans and Japanese. For instance, here I think that we could see some correlation with the case of Fliel, last company. Because as we talk about Americans, their families, their main priority, versus for the Japanese people, yes, family is important, but they are ready to work non-stop, versus Americans are not. The US culture, they clearly separate work and personal life, adhere to standardized working day. Japanese people, they are ready to live in isolation from their family and work all the time. They would not mind being close to their families, but they would tolerate this. They would be able to tolerate being far from their family. Versus Americans would say no to this, or they would say, okay, I can tolerate this for maybe 1 month, but then I want to be closer to my family. company was well, actually doing really good and going to achieve success on the global level. We have this information. And the idea about company being so successful and the explanation why, what were the main factors that actually promoted success, is Americans devoted to the company's methods, passionate about work, they are confident about their abilities, they possess a number of soft skills, working in a team. So again, it's a nice case to see the combination of different approaches and at the same time to see how it was possible to achieve a particular level. And now let's move on to a video. Any questions, guys? Any comments? Please let me know.
Working long hours is a way of life in Japan, so much so that some occasionally die from it. Karoshi is a term that means death by overwork. So why are people working so hard and can it be fixed?
It could be better this way,
Japan
right?
has some of the longest working hours in the world. Nearly a quarter of Japanese companies have their employees work more than 80 hours of overtime per month. Those extra hours are often unpaid. Today, Japan's corporate culture is driven by the so-called salaryman.
The salaryman is defined by his loyalty to his company.
And expected to spend his entire career working for the same firm.
Not only does he work long hours in the office, but it's also assumed he'll participate in after-work activities too, like drinking with colleagues.
And they're not taking enough time off. In 2017, one survey found that despite being entitled to 20 days off per year, Japanese workers left 10 of those days unused, topping every other country in the survey. You don't have to be in the confines of corporate walls to feel the impact of its work culture.
It's 3 a.m. Thursday morning right now in Tokyo. I'm in the area of Ginza. Every few minutes I see a man wearing a suit, holding a briefcase.
The nation's work ethic dates back to what's referred to as Japan's economic miracle, which was its dramatic economic growth beginning in the 1950s, which propelled it to become the world's second largest economy. Inside Japan's corporations, the culture emphasizes the success of a company as a whole to be more important than any single individual, which might explain why one study found that 63% of Japanese felt guilty for taking paid leave. But perhaps more concerning is this: long work hours don't necessarily mean high productivity. In fact, Japan has the lowest productivity amongst the G7 nations. Earlier I mentioned the term karoshi. It means death by overwork. It's legally recognized by the government and usually is marked by a heart attack, stroke, or suicide due to stress. There's hundreds of cases of karoshi reported annually, although some argue these cases are underreported and that the real number could exceed that by up to 10 times.
An employee of the advertising firm Dentsu jumped to her death in 2015. The cause was said to have been depression caused by overwork.
The case generated widespread attention and renewed calls to change the long working hours and illegal unpaid overtime highly common in Japan.
The firm was fined for violating labor standards because she was reportedly forced to work more than 100 hours of overtime per month.
The company's CEO even resigned over the controversy.
After the death, Dentsu made some changes within the company. One of them, the lights in the office now turn off at 10 p.m. every night in an effort to force employees to leave. Both the government and companies are now actively trying to reduce the number of working hours here.
And there are some early signs of hope. Japan's government has considered several initiatives to curb the number of hours spent at the office, including making it mandatory to take at least 5 vacation days a year and requiring a rest period between the end of one day and the start of another. In 2016, a new holiday, Mountain Day, was started, bringing Japan's number of annual public holidays to 16. And in 2017, the government launched an initiative called Premium Fridays, in which it encouraged companies to allow their employees to leave at 3 p.m. on the last Friday of the month, promoting consumer spending and less time in the office. But one study found that less than 4% of employees in Japan actually left early on the first Premium Friday, which is why, despite these initiatives, a cultural challenge still looms. Since Japan's culture emphasizes the group over the individual, well, no one wants to be the first one to leave the office. And there's another reason that there's pressure on people to work hard. Japan's economy is in danger, and in order to maintain its massive size, Japan needs to put in the hours. Japan lost its spot as the world's second largest economy to China in 2011, a title that it had previously held for 42 years.
Japan is dealing with a labor crisis. Its population is aging fast and its birth rate is in decline. That means its total population is going down.
And in the next 50 years, it's projected to shrink by nearly a third. The population is expected to go from 127 million in 2015 to just 88 million by 2065. There's two likely ways that a nation can compensate for the labor shortage: immigrants or robots. Japan has always been less inclined to accept immigrants. In fact, its percentage of foreign workers is tiny compared to other nations of large economies. So without more immigrants, it's looking to robotics to fill in the gap. Its robotics industry has spanned from hospitality to manufacturing, and now even reaching farms by creating robots that milk cows. But whether technology could open the door for a better work-life balance for Japan's workforce still remains to be seen.
So what are the main issues that we can see present in the Japanese working environment nowadays?